Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Zilean mid for solo queue. So recently Bjergsen's been playing it a lot in the LCS. He played it in week 1. I'm not sure if he played it in week 2, but he did play it in week 3 against Immortals, and it's been a pretty good pick in the LCS so far. I'm pretty sure he won both games on it. So in today's video we're going to talk about Zilean mid and why it's a strong pick, when you should pick it in solo queue. At the end of the video I'm going to go over some runes, masteries, and builds for Zilean, and then a few tips as well. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. So you're probably wondering why Zilean mid can be a strong pick, or why he is a strong pick. The reason why Zilean mid can be very successful is because he provides very strong wave clear for his team. His double bomb combo can just absolutely clear out a wave, especially if he does have a few AP items. He can one-shot the wave with 2 of his bombs, so it just makes his wave clear really good, and it's really hard to siege against a Zilean. He's also really strong because of his ultimate. His ultimate just allows for his teammates to go really aggressive, and it allows for him to be really good if he is paired up with a champion who does want to dive in, or who does want to try to get on the back line to assassinate the enemy AD carry. So someone like an Aurelia or a Rengar or even Swain right now can do really well with Zilean, since they just want to dive in, they want to try to assassinate that back line, and with the Zilean ultimate it just allows them to do that a lot more freely. He also provides really good utility with his E, and this is really strong for putting that on your AD carry in a team fight. Definitely whenever your E is off cooldown, look to put that on your AD carry, especially if they are immobile and they don't have any dashes, because it'll just allow them to position really well in team fights and get a lot of damage off while being really safe at the same time. He's got really good escape and chase potential with his E. I think that this is one of the most underrated parts to Zilean. Once you do get to a late game team fight, your E is going to be on a 2 or 3 second cooldown if you do have your W maxed and you do have 40% CDR. So that will just allow you to easily escape if the enemies are trying to jump on you. It's also really good because if the enemies do end up engaging on you in a late game team fight, then they are not escaping. So they better win that fight, or you're just going to be able to chase them down forever and just clean up kills really easily. So I just really like that Zilean's E provides great utility, and it's a really underrated part to his kit in my opinion. And lastly, let's not forget about his double bomb combo. If you can get this off in a mid to late game team fight on a high priority target or on a few targets in a team fight, then the amount of CC and the amount of damage you can get off with this combo is just really good. So if you can practice this and you can get this double bomb combo down, then you can definitely be very successful on Zilean for solo queue. So now let's talk about when you should pick Zilean for mid lane. So I would not pick him in the situation where you have a tanky top laner and a tanky jungler. Now the reason being is because Zilean's damage can be very inconsistent. If you're new to him, or if you're having a bad game on the champion, you're not going to hit every single bomb, and you're going to end up missing a few here and there. And if you have a tanky top laner and a tanky jungler, then you have to really rely on hitting those bombs for you to be able to do enough damage to win the team fight. So I don't think that playing him with tanks is the best idea, but luckily enough the tank meta is kind of fading away right now, and we're seeing a lot of good hard carry top laners being played. So Zilean is a good pick if your team does have someone like an Aurelia top lane, a Swain top lane, or a Fiora even, because those champions can dive in on the back line. Zilean can ult them when they do get low on HP, so I think that he does synergize really well with champions that want to dive in on the back line, more like of assassin bruiser type champions in the top lane. That's who I would recommend pairing him up with, and I would play him in that situation when you do have a champion that does want to look to dive in on the back line. Now as for the build on Zilean mid, this is the build that Bjergsen was running in the LCS minus the Banshee's Veil. I have a feeling a lot of you guys are going to ask in the comment section below, why not build a tier on Zilean? Now the reason being is because when I've played him, I really didn't find that I was running low on mana on the champion at all. I found that Rod was the only mana item that I really needed, and I was never running low on mana in team fights unless you're spamming out like 10 or 20 Qs in a team fight, then yeah, in that situation maybe you'd run out of mana, but I really don't think it's necessary to build a tier on him. Getting Morello is always good because it gives you that CDR. I like to get the CDR boots as well, so then you do get up to 30%, and with the runes I'm taking here, which I'll show you in a second, you will get up to 40% CDR on Zilean. And then getting as much AP as you can is always a good idea, so I like to go for Rabadon's next because that's just going to allow for you to get a really good ultimate off, or your ultimate's gonna heal your teammate for a lot more if you are going for the Rabadons. And then Void Staff is never a bad choice either, because if the enemies do start getting magic resist, then it's going to allow for you to deal more damage. And the reason I'm going Banshee is because Zilean is a champion who does not have a gap closer, so once you do get to those mid to late game team fights, if you do end up getting caught out and you have to use your ultimate on yourself, that's never what you want to end up doing. So the Banshee just allows you to stay safer once you do get to those late game team fights. So for the runes on Zilean, I'm taking the AP Quints, Magic Penetration Marks. Those are pretty standard on every AP mid lane champion. I am taking Scaling Health here. You can take Armor instead of Scaling Health. It just depends on the matchup you are in. If you're going up against an AD Assassin, then you could take the Armor in that situation. And I'm also taking the cooldown reduction glyphs here because this will end up getting you to 40% CDR with the build that you do go. I'm also taking a few Magic Resist glyphs. Now, if you don't have the IP to spend on the cooldown and the Scaling Health runes, then you could just go for a standard page of Magic Penetration Marks, Ability Power Quints, Armor Seals, and Magic Resist glyphs. And for the masteries, this is just a pretty standard page on a lot of the AP Mage mid lane champions right now, so if you guys do have any questions about this page, then don't be afraid to leave them in the comments below. And to round out the video, I'm going to give you guys a few tips for Zilean mid. So Zilean really only has one crucial combo that he needs to land for you to be successful on the champion, and that is his QWQ combo. Now this combo, if you can get it off, will end up stunning the opponent. So it's really important that you get used to using this combo and just get used to using your Q, hitting your W like right after that, and then using another Q to get the stun off on your opponent. I would recommend practicing this in normal games before you do head into rank because it is a little bit awkward to hit at first, but once you do get it down and once you can hit it consistently, then you can end up carrying games single-handedly just by hitting good QWQ combos. My next tip is to try to save your ultimate for your carries instead of using it on one of your tank champions. Now this really does depend on the game and it does depend on the situation, but for example, if the enemy team does have a Zed in the mid lane and he has not used his ultimate yet in a team fight, then if your tank is low on HP, I would not end up ulting him, because if you end up ulting your tank, then Zed can just easily jump on the back line and assassinate your AD carry or even yourself. So you really do have to just know when to use Zilean's ultimate. It does change from game to game because some games you can end up ulting your tank if the enemy doesn't have that assassin champion that's going to kill your AD carry, but in certain games you definitely do want to hold your ultimate and try to use it on your carries instead of your tanks. My next tip is to use your bombs to zone the opponents if you are going for Dragon or Baron. Zilean's bombs are just a really good zoning tool because if the enemies do walk through them, then they're going to get the bomb on their head and they're going to take a lot of damage. And because Zilean's bombs do have a really large radius on them, he can block off a really good path to Dragon or to Baron. So if you are taking these objectives, then just pop a bomb down because it's going to limit where the enemy champions can run. Another tip is to not be afraid to go for a tower dive at level 6 with Zilean. This works a lot better if you are in a duo and you are talking to them over Discord or over Skype, but nevertheless, Zilean's dive potential at level 6 is really good because if you do have a CC jungler like an Amumu or a Rengar and they hit their CC ability off on the enemy mid lane champion, then it just easily allows for you to line up your double bomb combo, and that's just a lot of CC and a lot of damage coming off. So if you are playing with a good crowd control jungler, definitely look to call them over at level 6 to go for that tower dive. A lot of the time you won't even have to use your ultimate on your jungler or on yourself because you'll end up bursting them down really quickly with the amount of damage you have with your double bomb combo and the amount of CC that you do get off on the enemy mid lane champion. But if your jungler does get low on HP, or if you do get low on HP, then you can just use your ultimate to save yourself. So it's a pretty low risk, high reward dive, and I would definitely recommend that you go for it, especially if you are chatting to someone in a voice call. And lastly guys, if I were to give Zilean a rating right now as to how strong he is in the mid lane, I would give him an 8.5 out of 10. With the recent resurgence of these carry top laners being played, I think that Zilean is much stronger right now because it just allows him to synergize really well with those hard engaged champions that want to dive on the back line. His double bomb combo is also just absolutely crazy if you can hit that consistently. So I think that as long as you can play Zilean correctly and you can get his double bomb combo down, then he can be a very successful pick for the mid lane for solo queue. So with that being said guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you would like to see more of these videos for different champions. So with that being said guys, thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.